Welcome, everybody. It is on the hour. And so, playing the game from when I teach at the university level, I always like to start my classes on time. My name is Eric Charles. I'm VP of Marketing at Dispatch Track, and I welcome you to today's webinar on bringing clarity to the last mile, looking specifically at visibility for food distributors as we are here in the second month of calendar 2025. For an agenda today, what I want to go into is the application of visibility in last mile for food. How is this necessary? Why is it necessary? How is it accomplished? And after a few bits of commentary on that from me, I will bring in our friends from Merit Foods, and they have been using the Dispatch Track platform for a while, but more importantly, they've been an extremely successful food distribution company, and they've got some great stories and bring a little bit of both levity and commentary to all this. And at the very end, we'll open this up to audience question and answer. You should be able to find the Q&A panel here in Zoom. Feel free to insert any questions you want covered during today, and we'll catch all of that at the end, I promise. And finally, of course, at the very end, we'll be spinning the wheel for the $250 Amazon gift card for people who attend. Nothing like a little bit of bribery or incentive to stick around and listen. So let's get started here. Just quickly about Dispatch Track, in case you've come in, don't know us, don't know what we do. We are a software solution focused on the last mile delivery with very specific applications we have developed for the food and beverage industry. We are constantly moving at the speed of the industry. Every time there's a new change in the marketplace, something going on, we're able to add functionality to our mobile, desktop, and obviously all through the cloud, since it's a SaaS solution, software, so that you've got all the functionality you need to do a better job of keeping an eye on last mile operations in a single platform. And this just makes it both, much more operationally efficient, but also extremely profitable. I do encourage you to check out dispatchtrack.com. You can learn a lot. There's even recorded demos on the site so that you can take a look at how this could look for your organization. This brings me into the visibility into the route. Why is this so important? Isn't this a simple thing? But if you start thinking about how complicated things can get in the industry, a lot of our clients, a lot of the people I've talked to through the years, they've got a nice large distribution center. Okay, that distribution center will oftentimes be shuttling things to a variety of regional hubs, stealing the hub and spoke model that arguably Walmart helped perfect back in its day as it was originally growing. Now, once you've got a regional hub, or perhaps you're just working off of a single distribution center, if you think about it, you've got multiple time windows in the day that you are delivering. You could be delivering to restaurants at certain times, grocery stores at different times, hotels who have their own needs and slightly different from the pure restaurant business, and finally, even, various, mini marts or the like. Each of these are coming in, and you need to be able to schedule and see, on a multi-day and multi-windows, you want it automatically routing and rerouting, automatically figuring out when to reload and how to load it up, and figuring out when exactly deliveries need to occur, and also have proof of delivery. This is the whole visibility in the route that is so important to our clients that we've talked to. Now, this starts with capacity. What vehicle are you using? Do you have the right freezers, reefers, or just stacking it up as high as it can go in the back as it's going? And, I've done some of that truck loading, not in the food industry, in a different industry in my life, and figuring out how and where to load everything so it's not off balance, counterbalanced, and how much can the vehicle actually hold. You want to match the capacity that you have, not the capacity you wish you had, and and also based on the route that you're taking and the timing and the delivery. So you can see where this gets the weight. And this is all the way, obviously up to even catch weight capacity. So weight-based measurements, which have always been important, because your buyers or the people getting the deliveries are really interested in that. Now, the next visibility is into the site when the delivery is made. And I will freely admit, I stole these photos from Reddit's Kitchen Confidential subreddit, just in case anybody's wondering, because I was looking for examples of something that I experienced. When I was in high school, I worked in my brother's restaurant, the Louisiana restaurant in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And he signed me up to get up super early in the morning, and I would sign for deliveries and then I go off to school. And there are times where I was dumping the boxes, somebody else was dumping the boxes, and it was just kind of there. And then at some point, my brother would yell at me because I put the wrong thing on top. I forgot to put something in the walk-in, or worse, I stacked things in a way that made it hard when the prep chefs came in and started doing their work. This is the reality every single day. Now, isn't it nice though, now that we all walk around with cameras in our pockets that are also pocket supercomputers, to actually show proof of delivery and how it was delivered? And this is where we get into this thing. It's what people expect of Amazon now. We expect to get that picture, say your order was delivered. Here's the picture of your, box sitting in front of your house or outside of your apartment or wherever you are. Our customers are looking for the same thing. They want to know, was it delivered and how was it delivered and where it was stacked up. And I can bring you a million examples of where a delivery driver blocks the walk-in, so you can't even walk in when you try to walk in because everything's stacked up, hides things behind things, or even has the wrong stuff. So before I go into the next section, I would love to pop up a quick poll, because food recalls are also in the news all the time right now. So did you have a recall that you had to deal with in 2024? I'll just give people a couple minutes here to jump into this. And, I mean, I've seen I hate to say it, the boar's head food was the one that's first of mind or top of mind from a recent one, but there've been several others. I've dealt with some of the spinach ones. Living in California nowadays was an interesting path, and a few other things like that. And the question is, we know where it started and we know that people had to pull it, but there's something in between. It's probably enough time for a yes or no question. Let's go ahead and get the quick results. So, all right. So I got a 2/3 yes and one third no. Jealous of the 1/3 no. That's good. You didn't have to deal with it. So why do I bring that up? Why did the food recall matter, other than it's a nightmare for all of us? Well, can you track the items? So GS1, we know the GS1 standards are out there. It's not fully required. It's one of those interesting things that's going on. But the ability to have a barcode scan, a location scan, and an item scan. And we started digging into this a bit ago at the request of our customers. We have a very strong customer success operation, and we try to listen to our clients in the what else would you like in the software. And we built in the functionality so that people could come in, and if they were adopting GS1, they could actually put it on there. And so that if there is a recall, they would know these are the three products that were shipped out that are on the list. And this is exactly who we took them to, when we took them, when they were delivered, etc. So it just gives you that pure visibility. I'm not saying we prevent recalls. I'm saying that if a recall happens, you can be much more targeted in reaching out to the people that may or may not still have that recalled package sitting in their operation. In the same sense, for seeing it on the GS1 side, we want to get some visibility into the driver, what's going on. And this is, remember when I said, people want the Amazon experience, confirming delivery, confirming future orders, also the ability to upsell the customers. We were talking about catch weight. If you're sitting there on site and you weigh it out, do we need to adjust the pricing that would happen? And all of the customer service and relationship that's going on. I've got a couple different examples here, but think about it, being able to say, no, this is who signed for it. And yes, it may have been Eric Charles, age 17 at 6 o'clock in the morning. But if not, we can see at least that's the person that signed for it. We can see what pallets got there and how it got into the system. Now, here's my next question for the folks who are on the call. How real time is your visibility? And we'll make this simple. Do you have it? Can you see where all your deliveries are right now? If I asked you, it's like, hey, you've got a truck going out, and maybe the customer called in and doesn't want something that's on that truck. Or maybe they want to get twice as much, and you're trying to figure out, has the driver left the bay? Is he already three stops into a delivery route, and you can send another truck with that additional package and do a little rerouting? Or is it you won't know until they come back and they hand over, for all I know, the carbon sheet, pink sheets, because they're still doing physical signatures. So go ahead. It's a yes or no. What have we got? 84% with real time and 16% that are not seeing all of it. So we've got a few folks that might, hopefully that means you're interested in learning more about how this can actually work. And we'll get into that when I bring on our two speakers from Merit Foods. So next, I'm talking about internally, but what about third-party deliveries, 3PL? Guess what? There's no reason you can't have visibility into 3PL deliveries. There's no reason why just because you've chosen to outsource that part of your business operation to the customers that you can't see how your 3PL, operators are getting packages out into the field. It's actually a very important part of the marketplace, works very well. Oftentimes the 3PLs can do the same thing. And if you are a 3PL provider, you might have several people that you're hauling for, obviously, and you might even be able to combine some loads. So being able to have that visibility, if you are the distributor to do it, is there, and as the 3PL visibility into your own drivers, this all comes into, once again, making sure that you're doing the right thing for the customers and that you know where everything's gone. So once you're seeing all the drivers, once you're seeing exactly what packages are going, once you're seeing if it's been delivered correctly, now let's start looking in the routing and the weekly plans. And look, why do we create weekly plans? So we can kind of figure out how much staffing we need, when and where we need the trucks. So we can then break it down on a daily basis. There'll be the ones that are always repeats, but then there'll be the rushes. I mean, obviously it's, when you've got a big game coming up, shall we say, this week's plans have shifted significantly as people are going to be stocking up for certain things in different locations. There are, I am sure, frozen wings sitting in trucks, going to grocery stores, going to restaurants, going to bars, everywhere right now. And it has changed everything that's going on of when people want stuff. So the nice thing about visibility is you can look at your weekly plans, you can look at your daily routing, they'll be optimized, to get the maximum number of stops done. In fact, our customers see a 20% improvement in deliveries just through more optimized daily routing that has a better picture into what the roads are like, what the traffic's like, and when and where we need to go. But of course, those will change, and they need to be able to change, and you need to be able to go in and say, hold it, if we do a double load, 2 trucks to this one very important customer, how does that ripple through to everybody else? Is it okay if we suddenly end up with a later delivery over here or an early delivery over there? And being able to manipulate and manage that with the help of AI, with the help of a computer that's helping you with those plans and that routing is so valuable just to keep yourself from going crazy as you're juggling all the demands. So now you've got your routing, you've got your scheduling, you've got your capacity, then it gets into the sale of what actually happened, what's been the communication with the customer. So that the sales rep, who's the one that did the business for you, can actually look into these things. Because whenever I buy from a sales rep and they tell me, great, I'm going to hand you over now to our fulfillment team, I'm like, that's great. But if things blow up, I'm calling you back. I'll admit I'm that guy. I'm a wonderful and terrible customer. I will call up the sales rep of, you told me I would have this, it's not here, and I haven't heard back. Sales reps need to be able to look into what's happened to things they've sold. It can help them, improve and better maintain that customer relationship so they can see what's going on. So when we start thinking about this, we're here again, we're in the second month of 2025, and there's a variety of things that can improve profitability, as we know. There's visibility into what's going on, which means your operations, so you can see that. There's efficiency, which I brought up, that 20%, cost savings. If you can do more loads in a single day just through better routing, that's an efficiency play. But there's also customer satisfaction. If you can improve customer satisfaction, remember, our customers do have other options. They can go to somebody else for a solution. Can we get something from them? So let's go ahead and see how the voting is going on this one. If I make you pick one of those, and yes, it's a forced choice, where does it look like? Efficiency and customer sat. So efficiencies are number one, followed by customer sat, and then the visibility on there. So that's actually very interesting. So I can see efficiency, especially as we're not entirely certain where, fuel prices are going to be on a weekly basis. And then customer satisfaction, I do believe we are even deeper into the era of the customer right now because customers have gotten more empowered in making demands, more empowered in wanting information, and more empowered in, arguing that they're going to switch. So whatever you can do to maintain that relationship is critical. So you've listened to me, and I promised to, when I first said I was going to do this, that I would keep this first part of the conversation to only 15 minutes so that we can jump into what I'm sure people are more interested in, and that's hearing from Bailey and Tyler. I've known Bailey and Tyler. They've been customers of us here at Dispatch Track for a bit. So Bailey's the head of marketing and creative at Merit. She works on all their outbound marketing, branding, and public relations. So you can hear how that important that is because Merit Foods does have a reputation. They've got a great reputation in Arizona. She's also involved in some marquee events. We're going to talk about a couple of events they have that I'm hoping to make it to myself at some point. And it's great because she comes out as an Arizona native. And I'm going to put this in because it's on your LinkedIn, Bailey, and one of the Wildcats, which hurts me because your team has a tendency to beat my alma mater on a regular basis. And we're just not going to go deeper into that, but I'm just going to cry for a bit. And joining her is Tyler, their director of operations. So, and he's been with director of operations for Merit for a couple of years, but it's great because he also brings in experience from companies like Lowe's and Orchard Supply Hardware, plus working as an entrepreneur himself. So he's got this different perspective of different types of ways that you can run an efficient operation and make it all happen. So welcome, you two.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. So I've got a couple questions set up. I've also got the Q&A open, which we'll go to at the end. But I'm going to make the dangerous decision to just let this start to flow once people start talking, because I think it gets more interesting that way when we can just be kind of natural with it. But I'll start with you, Bailey. I just did a poll there of customer sat, efficiency, visibility. So what do you find most important in food distribution? And it doesn't have to be those three. Those are the ones that I came up with when I was building out the deck. So what do you see as the most important in food distribution?
Well, being local to Arizona, our biggest priority is focusing on our local customers as well. We strive in that department because we are personable to our customers. We're here, we're local to Tucson, so we are very good at reaching who we need to reach in the local community. Our main priority is building strong customer relationships, but we're also focusing on ensuring product quality, supporting our local community, adapting to all of the unique needs and wants in the Arizona market. But we can't do any of that without focusing on reliable and efficient logistics. That's just how we keep our operations smooth and running.
All right, I got to ask, what are the unique needs in the Arizona marketplace?
Oh, lots of avocados from Mexico. We always need those. We're close enough. But it depends on the restaurant. We have a lot of Mexican restaurants here. We have a lot of mom and pops. We have a lot of restaurants that haven't necessarily been given all of the capabilities that maybe a large chain would get. But that's what we love because we're a local family run business. We love supporting other local family run businesses.
So like a high touch, high support is important then, especially with those smaller ones, because the small businesses like the one I worked at was definitely, they knew who their friends were. They knew who could take care of them. And I certainly did more than my share of like the guy pulling up with the truck and say, by the way, I've got some of this at half price. Are you willing to buy it off of me? So
absolutely.
So Tyler, let's switch on to the other side. So I now Bailey's perspective on taking care of those customers. How about you? I mean, I talked about visibility by the user for deliveries, but maybe you can even back up and go through your operational model.
Yeah, so obviously we're a smaller format. We are localized, but we do a big volume. So we ship out to, every day we send 28 to 32 trucks out of our warehouse that distribute all across Southern Arizona. With that comes a lot of difficulties just routing because every day the routes change. Every day we're having to re-coordinate, kind of look at and assess our business needs based on the customer's needs. So That's definitely a challenge that we go through that, Dispatch Track has helped us with.
So if I break it down, like you're routing all over Southern Arizona.
Mhm.
I come out to Phoenix regularly. I've got family there. So which is the visibility is it the truck route standpoint that you're focused on, or how often do you get involved, like when the customer does as I like to put it, dude, where's my delivery?
Yeah, so we deal with both on a daily basis. So, we route every night. We go through our routing process because not every customer orders every day. They have specific days, but we don't obligate our customers to order certain days. So they have the leniency to be able to order whenever they need, and we deliver it. We fulfill it within their time windows. We also have the flip side of the coin where, hey, we're getting close to the end of our time window, and that's where the sales rep's able to track our trucks, see where they're at, observe where their deliveries are going, and we can also coordinate that with them, which is a great benefit.
All right, how much rerouting do you have to do because one of those customers calls you and asks for something on the same day basis?
It's not as much as you'd think. We set the expectation with our customers that we attempt to hit the time window, but it's a preference, right? It's not a guarantee. We will do our best to get as close as possible as that, and normally we're able to exceed their expectations by hitting it 99% of the time. It's those one-off opportunities that we always try to improve upon.
Now, are you doing anything? Because I know one of the things we offer, and I was at a conference recently, they talked about was very much focused on the driver side. Are you using our system for keeping and not, I don't want to say keeping an eye on the drivers, but like looking for opportunities to improve how your drivers operate, at that driver visibility in the driver field level?
Yeah, so we track the amount of cases that go on a truck and their delivery times to make sure that they're being efficient. We also, take a look at the reporting that tells us, um, where they spent more time, and then we circle back on that. So we follow the analytics and we look at it pretty closely to try to improve our processes.
Mm-hmm. So what were you doing before y'all jumped in with us? I should have looked this up beforehand, so I don't know if you were on a different platform or on a yellow legal sheets and a spreadsheet.
Well, I think if you want to call it managing our routing, which is a very optimistic way to look at it was all based on kind of the night shift person that did the routing, how they think the routing was supposed to be done, and how they wrote it on the pen and paper. That's how we used to do it. That's how we used to operate. We're a family-owned company, so technology before my tenure here and before some of the new management was something that we were definitely lacking. So bringing this program in allowed us to kind of expand our knowledge and expand our abilities to be able to hit these customers much better than we were prior.
What did you actually see? I mean, when you started doing it, I mean, was it what were the happy results?
I think right away the fuel consumption was definitely something that we weren't anticipating, but was pretty eye-opening and shocking, right? When we call it the Death Star, as you run a Death Star across Arizona, you're consuming a lot of fuel. Not only that, you're wasting the driver's time, you're wasting a lot of resources. What we found is when we're able to make a nice clean loop and come and hit every customer and get as close to their time windows, our fuel consumption, our productivity, the amount of stops we could put on a truck was a huge improvement and something that we really needed.
Yeah, I've got to ask. So years ago, I did some work in the petroleum industry, and the guys delivering gasoline to stations. One of the challenges that we were helping them solve was there might be 3 chevrons on a street with the same name, and they would sometimes deliver to the wrong one.
Mm-hmm.
You ever have to deal with that back when you're in the manual days of maybe dropping off a box of avocados to the wrong Mexican restaurant?
It happened all the time back in the
Okay.
yeah, to say it didn't would be a lie. So it happened all the time. We still have humans that make mistakes, but those opportunities are far less now. It's automated. It's simple. The process is there. As long as they follow the process, is when they put their human side on and they step out of line. That's where we really feel the pain.
What was the learning curve like when you signed up with us? How long did it take you to switch from the manual to the automated system?
This was prior to my time. I wasn't here for the implementation, but I did partner with a lot of the management that was here. And they
Mhm.
said, obviously, we had a learning curve, right? We've been doing it pen and paper for the last, how many decades. It's not something that you could just shake out of your system. The one thing that they did note that was outstanding was the support that they got from Dispatch Track. That
Mhm.
anytime there was questions or anything like that, they were able to work through it, and they got it wasn't a painful learning curve. It was just a learning curve, I would
Just a
say.
learning curve. Gotcha. Yeah, it's always that. But hold it, I've always done it this way. Where's this box, or how do I do this? Or I'll freely admit, as much as I love automation, I still have Post-it notes all over my office. People are like, you could build that into the system. Like, no, I want my Post-it notes. So I know what it's like trying to get some of us old guys to switch over to a better system.
Well, and I
Uh,
think part of it is just utilizing the tools that you have, right? Everyone wants to revert back to their old program. It's embracing the program. I think was the biggest learning curve we had was just to embrace it. Let the system do it for us. We don't have to be manual anymore.
So, all right. So you said you saw some fuel savings.
Mm-hmm.
How about productivity? Did you see a time?
Night and day different, night and day. We're able to push our drivers and even our staff at night, because we pick at night, deliver during the day for the
Mhm.
most of our shift. We're able to push them to kind of their limits, right? We know how many cases they should be able to deliver as long as our routing's nice and tight in one geographic location. You should be able to get X amount of cases in the back door and get in and out of a customer while still taking care of our customer. But we can really fill those trucks a lot more than we were in the past.
So do you keep a leaderboard of some sort for like, daily, like on-time delivery rates on a daily, weekly basis by either driver, truck, or just in general?
Yeah, we actually have a incentive program. If they're one of our higher performing drivers, they get an incentive. They get, financial reward for it because not only are they servicing our customers, but they're also benefiting our employer or our company by being able to get in, get out, do the job, and save us the fuel, the payroll, all that.
Okay, awesome. All right, Bailey, I know you've heard because we've reached out to you, some of our press releases, some things we're working on. I think we've even talked about roadmap, but what are some of the other capabilities of Dispatch Track that you're excited to start exploring a little bit more?
Well, I think on my end, that communication piece to the customers, this is your delivery is here, this is what's on it. Anything that can help our communication with our customers, I think is very important to me because I enjoy communicating with our customers because it makes that line even stronger between us and them.
Mhm.
Helps them trust us, so that's huge in our industry because it can get kind of scary out there. But I think any way that we can communicate with our customers in an efficient way is definitely something that we need to be doing. Um, and we're using right now we are using dispatch track very, I think, strongly, in my opinion, from my eyes. But there's always ways to improve. There's always places we want to take it. It's very important that we invest in the solutions to help increase our productivity.
Yeah. How about you, Tyler? Anything you want to explore a little deeper, or you're excited about?
To be honest with you, right now technology is our big push this year. So a lot of the stuff that you discussed, we have different solutions for, but we may be coming back and circling around with Dispatch Track to look at what kind of differences you guys offer.
Mhm.
So I to pinpoint one, I'm not really looking to pinpoint one. I think
Yeah.
you guys encompasses a lot of what we're looking for, and so we utilize Dispatch Track pretty thoroughly, but we're not using it to its full capacity, I don't think.
That, I'll admit, in any technology, that's always the challenge, especially you who it was already purchased before you started. I used to say you should go back and ask, and we do that internally. Why did they sign up for us? What were they shown in the demo? And then
Mm-hmm.
when the user shifts, you've got to come back and make sure. Let's make sure they're aware of what's available.
Yeah.
What's in the system. Was there anything unexpected benefit, Tyler, when you came on board, you started using this tool, you're told, hey, we've got this tool that you're like, oh, this also helps that.
Yeah, I mean, I think I hit on it a little bit before was the fuel consumption, but another thing was just the payroll. Obviously, I'm operations, so I'm numbers driven, and one of the things I noticed was a lot of overtime for our drivers. We've been able to cut that, I mean, dramatically. If you saw our figures, it would be shocking. But a lot of that just comes down to make sense of what we're doing, right? Make it concise, make it nice, and within reason, and we'll hit your time windows. But you have to, set the expectation, and we'll hit the goal. So
That is great. You know what? I don't think we had that. I don't know if I've got that anywhere. The idea of like more efficient driving also means reducing overtime.
yeah.
Uh, that's a nice thing to have, because that can start getting costly real fast.
Mhm.
Um, anything else I haven't asked y'all before we, because I still want to talk to Bailey about this food event, and I'll get very distracted, I'll admit, once we start talking food. But anything else you wanna toss out?
No, I think we've covered quite a bit here. We're happy with the program. We're happy with the software. And then I think the biggest thing, implementing a new program. It's nice to hear because we've implemented a lot of technology since I've been here. It's nice to hear my team was so adamant about how helpful and resourceful your team was during the implementation process. So that was great.
That is always good to know, and I'll make sure that also gets passed on to our team. All right, Bailey, when we were first talking about this and you agreed to do this, you mentioned an annual customer appreciation food show. That sounds wonderful. So I want to hear more about this.
Yeah, so this year was our 11th one, so 2025 will be our 12th annual. So a lot of years we've been doing this. It started as a normal food show, trying to get our vendors in front of our customers, but it's kind of turned into what we call a customer appreciation food show. It's about the customer. It's about showing them what we offer, what we can offer, what we have offered in the past and may be able to bring back. It's kind of a way to tell them thank you for your support. Thank you for your business. We want to support you any way we can. So this year it's October 14th. We usually have between 60 to 70 vendors that get a booth there. We do it at Casino del Sol, so we have the whole grand ballroom.
Ooh,
It's a pretty big event. We usually have about 400 customers attend, and it usually ends up being about 800 to 1,000 individual people because customers will bring their head chef. It'll be the owner, the hostess. Anybody from the restaurant can attend. But it's a way for our customers to see and try products that we currently offer, but also products that we will offer in the future. They also get, if they attend our show, they get a 9-week promotion period, what we call our allowances. So each vendor offers $1 to $10 off per case of the items that they showed at the show, and that's automatically taken off their invoice for that 9-week period. So it kind of is a way to say, here's a little deal for you for
mhm.
attending our show. We have live music, we have cooking demos, we have raffle prizes. People are leaving carrying giant TVs out of the room. So it's a really good time. And we have a VIP cocktail hour dinner for kind of our top decision makers in the industry the night before the show, and we kind of wine and dine them, and it's more of an intimate setting than our food show. So our president is there, our um, general manager is there, all of our majority of our team is there to kind of talk to those people and get to know them on a more personal level, not necessarily having to talk about business all the time, but it's a really great event and I enjoy it.
Yeah, Eric and
No,
he left out one of the biggest parts is it's unlimited food. So all you
Yeah. Yep, come hungry.
that sounds like a lot of fun. I've got to admit, it sounds like a great
Yeah,
time.
it's a
Um,
lot of fun.
let me go back. And like I said, I think I've got to find a way that I can make it there. I do want to
Absolutely.
say for our audience, you know, that there's a QR code here if you want to download some more information about Dispatch Track, about how our systems work, and a couple of upcoming conferences we're going to be at as well if you want to meet with us, and we're always available. But this is really when I wanted to get us into the Q&A part of things. I did have one that popped in for you, Bailey. That's kind of a lot of fun, and it was, you know, you're doing a customer appreciation moment, you know, this great thing. How do you measure the effectiveness of it? I mean, you know, because that's so I think I'm reading between the lines. I'm trying to convince my boss to do something like this at our market, and they're promising me they're not in your market. So how, you know, how did you get the company to do this?
Yeah, so it started just like it's way different in the past than it is now. We use a platform called Meal Ticket, which is a kind of a food show tracking system. So all every customer that goes to a booth at the show checks in, so we see how many people actually are having conversations with our vendors. Um, as well as they'll let them know, hey, I'm interested in this. They can mark it on the tablet, and then our team follows up after. So it's basically tracked by our numbers before and after the show. We can tell what items are working, what items are not necessarily working, what items we should bring in, what items we should not bring in, all based on what our customers are ordering after the show.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
Tyler, there's another question that's coming to you. It's like, what else is in your tech stack that you have to manage? Um, in addition to Dispatch Track, are there other critical tools? I'm kind of opening myself up here, I realize, but it's a legitimate question, so I can't keep it away. Yeah, you're on mute still.
That list is pretty long. You know,
Okay.
we have multiple selling platforms. We use Choco, Entree, Dispatch Track, obviously. As for routing, we do a lot with Samsara as well because they're our camera system. So we have several different. Unfortunately, one of the things that we're looking for this year is to consolidate a lot of our IT stack, because right now we have so many different providers that do similar services that we're looking to consolidate those into a more consistent platform, so we don't have to go to 5 different areas to find the same results.
I think that's one of and I think the reason the person was asking that question, it's always that challenge, like, oh my gosh, I have to add another login or something. I want to make sure it fits into everything I'm doing to use. It's I also got a question. There was a question that came in on integrating AI, and so I do have to say the routing interface is backed with an AI engine. You know, setting up for the week is one thing. Setting up a daily route, it helps. It is also we've expanded that AI, especially for exception handling. That's where I'd say AI is the best, because, like, you know, if suddenly something happens, either you're out of a product or double product or an emergency run for a particular customer, and there's going to be a ripple effect across all of your 30, 50, 100 trucks, how many trucks you have, there will be a ripple effect as soon as you make an exception. But we also know that exceptions happen. And that's why, like Tyler, we were talking about that earlier, this issue of, you know, a customer comes in, something changes, something hits, and AI will help, and it will adjust the routes, look at where every truck is going, what's the capacity in the truck, and when can we get it there to make it happen. So that is backed by some artificial intelligence to make it a little easier, a little smoother for everybody. There was a question that someone came in of wanting me to jump into a live demo. We will follow up with everybody so that, you know, anybody who really wants to dig into the software and see how it works, we want you to be able to see it. I mean, yes, you can see some of the interfaces on our website. Dan Schimmer, head of product marketing, set that up, and it's sitting in the across the toolbar on the dispatchtrack.com website. But we're also happy to do one with anybody on this call so they can see how the system works and how it's going. I want to thank Bailey and Tyler for joining me here today. This has been a lot of fun. I picked up a couple new things as well. And Tyler, I hope to show you some of the newer functionality we have as you're considering what other aspects of the system to use. There had been a question about, you know, what does implementation take as well that had come in, and you know, implementation is very easily handled by us. You know, once we get a feel, we scope out what you need, and we can get it set up. And then, whoops, there it is. And then there's a question on GS1 tracking. That is actually built in. It's pretty much a flip of the switch on our part, and then training for your team. If you're already doing some GS1 tracking, we want to make sure we archive all of your past activity, and then we also keep an archive of everything that we're doing once we start. So, you know, the shift over from whatever you're doing right now to what we're doing will be handled. If you're not doing any sort of tracking right now, we can also implement that. So going forward, you'll always have all that tracking in there too. I don't want to say it's mindless, because you still got to get trained to make sure you're putting the right codes on everything, and when do you scan them at each one of the stages to be able to track it, but that's all that. So with that, we will spin the wheel for our gift card giveaway. This is what I mentioned. It must be present to win, and Valentine's Day is coming up. So this is a chance for somebody to get an opportunity to get an Amazon gift card to help out. So we'll wait for the spinning wheel to pop up. All right, it looks like it is Casey Clark has won our drawing for today. So, and I can tell you that Casey actually had asked one of the questions. So Casey, we'll be following up with you. And I want to thank once again Tyler and Bailey from Merit Foods. I will also be reaching out to you two afterwards for that October customer appreciation event. I might have to find an excuse to sneak in, and the all you can eat definitely got my attention, plus a little bit of live music. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We'll be following up with an email. You'll get a copy of the slides from today as well. And everybody have a great February.